What are you worried about today? What are you afraid of today? There's a lot of things in our crazy world that are worrisome and can cause us to be afraid. Your bills, the economy, your family, doctor's report, state of our nation, war. So many things for us to worry about. I know people who worry because there's just so many things to worry about. So what are the things that worry you? What are the things that you're afraid of? See, in the scriptures, there are over 365 fear not, or do not be afraid, or do not worry statements. It's almost as if God wants us every day to remember that because He's with us, we do not have to worry, we do not have to fear, and we do not have to be afraid. David, we've talked about this psalm for the last couple weeks off and on because it's just really impacting my life. David said, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, because God, your rod and your staff, they comfort me." Now, a rod and a staff was used to guide and protect sheep. He's giving a shepherd reference here. And he's saying God is like a good shepherd, and He will guide me and He will protect me. But don't forget where David was saying he was, in the valley of the shadow of death. That was an actual place. That's not a metaphor. That was a real place on a road between Jerusalem and Jericho, where the valley was so deep that sometimes the sun couldn't get to the bottom unless it was midday. And the reason it was called the valley of the shadow of death was because sometimes you had to travel through that valley to get where you were going, and it was so dark, bandits and thieves and bad people would just wait in the shadows and hope that a lonely traveler would come by, and when they did, they would rob them and sometimes kill them. You also see that story played out in the story of the Good Samaritan. Jesus references the same place, the valley of the shadow of death. It was a very, very real, dangerous place. And David said, even though I'm in the most dangerous place I can think of, even though I'm in the darkest place I can think of, I'm not going to be afraid because I know that God is with me. Sometimes we get that twisted. Sometimes we think when bad things happen, or when we're in a dark valley, or we're in the shadow of death, sometimes we think that God is out to get us, that God is mad at us, that God is getting even with us, that God is punishing us. And I want to say to you that those are just not true. There will be times in your life when God will discipline you, but He's not mad at you. He's definitely not trying to get even with you, and He's not punishing you. And all you have to do to believe that is look at the life and the death of Jesus. Jesus already paid the punishment for all the wrong things you've ever done or will do. He already covered it. And if you've accepted His grace, if you've accepted His gift of salvation, you're not being punished when bad things happen. Just bad things happen. And it's an opportunity for you to stretch your faith, to flex your faith, and not be afraid. God is with you today. No matter what it is that's got you worried, whether it's the money situation or the kid situation or a relationship or a global pandemic or whatever it is, God is with you. And like a good shepherd, He will guide you and He will protect you. Now, it's not just enough to know these verses, these 365 fear not, don't be afraid, don't worry verses. You got to say them and remember them over and over and over again. You got to bank on them. You got to lean your life against them. They will never fail you, but you do have to remind yourself over and over, as a Jesus follower, as a God-loving human being, I do not have to be afraid of anything in my life today. So go and live fearless.